different methods.
That's well said. I think that analogy is absolutely perfectly apt. And, this is another thing that's interesting. A lot of people think, well, hypnotherapy is hypnotherapy is hypnotherapy, and a hypnotherapist is a hypnotherapist is a hypnotherapist. And I try to tell them as gently as I can, no, that's not true. First of all, you have different personalities, you have different values, you have different sensibilities. Then there are different levels of training and experience and expertise. And I always say, to a prospective client, I'm very comfortable saying this, call a lot of people, talk to them, ask them questions. Someone is going to resonate with you. And it very likely will be not the person that's the cheapest. Because the people who are good at this spend a lot of time and effort to get good at this, and they also have a bigger tool set. The more tools you have, the easier it is to build the building or tune up the car. And so that's a great analogy, because not everything works the same for everybody. And the more people you've seen and the longer you've done this and the more you learn and study and research and build your toolkit, usually the more effective you can be. And one of the things that I always say is that there's both an art and a science to this work. The science, anybody can learn. I can teach somebody how to do hypnosis in 10 minutes. You can too. But then what do you do? And
right.
That's the differentiator is, the people that are creative, the people that say, oh, I remember, and this happens in real time. I remember something like this happened 2 years ago, and I did this, and boom, you do something that you haven't done in a long time, or maybe you've never done, and all of a sudden you get this result. Now I've got a new tool. That's the cool part, both for the clients and for us as practitioners, because it keeps it fun.
Right. Now, I want to go down that rabbit hole a little bit for listeners who may be new to hypnosis. I would like to talk a little bit about the training for hypnosis, because like that, you have a doctorate. This is not there are weekend seminars on hypnosis. I'm not knocking the weekend seminars on hypnosis. Like you said, the science of how to hypnotize somebody can be taught in 10 minutes. But I'd love for you to explain and talk a little bit more about the art of this, the education behind this, what real clinical, certified, gifted, hopefully, hypnotherapists offer that maybe somebody who has attended a weekend seminar to help their kids with test anxiety could not offer you.
Right. Well, we can start with comparing the stage hypnotist to the basic hypnotherapist. The stage hypnotist is very good at creating hypnosis. He or she is very good at creating suggestions that the right people will follow so that a crowd is entertained. But if you gave them someone with a massive fear of driving on the freeway or flying an airplane or needles or spiders or pick your thing or a smoking habit or some other addiction and said, okay, treat that, they wouldn't have a clue because they're not trained in it. As you said, you can attend a weekend seminar and become a hypnotherapist, because in most states, I don't know about, you're in Colorado, right?
Yes.
I don't know if it's a licensed profession in Colorado, but in California, you don't have to have a license to practice hypnotherapy. You don't have to have anything. There are a few laws that you have to obey. They're not particularly strict. Don't work on a medical condition or a psychological condition that's been diagnosed without a referral. And other than that, you're pretty good to go. So you can study for a weekend or a month, or you can study for a year or get a doctorate. You're still, according to the state of California or Colorado or most states in the country, a hypnotherapist. So, think of, here's an analogy. A medical school class graduates. The person at the bottom of the class is still called doctor. Now, they may not be very good at it. They managed to get through somehow, and they're still Dr. So-and-so. Who do you want to see? The person at the bottom of the class or the person at the top of the class that really knows what they're doing? So it is always, I think, important when you're looking for this to ask questions. What kind of training did you get? My initial training was a full year. You can go for 2 months and do 30 hours of training and be a hypnotherapist. So it's really something that it's worth exploring. Mm-hmm. And there are a couple of certifying bodies, if you will, because we have certified hypnotherapists. That's what we both call ourselves. And, most schools have their own board. So when you graduate from that school, even if it's Joe Blow's School of Hypnotherapy and it was 2 weeks, they will certify you. But there are a couple of a few nationally known bodies. The National Guild of Hypnotists is one, and the International Medical and Dental Hypnotherapy Association is 2, and the I think it's called the National Society of Clinical Hypnotherapists. If you find someone that's certified by one of those 3 bodies, you pretty well know that they've had a certain amount of experience and training, because it's required to get that certification. You have to demonstrate that you actually know what you're doing. Still not a guarantee, but much better place to start. So yes, Laura, it's important that people out there know that hypnotherapists are from A to Z. You can get someone that's been in business for a long time and has studied and like you or I really worked hard to get good at what they do, or you can get somebody that just graduated. One more point, there are a lot of books of hypnotic scripts, and people that aren't very good or new very often rely on scripts. So they'll put you into hypnosis, which I could teach anybody how to do, so could you in 10 minutes. Then they get their book of scripts out and they say, okay, let's see. Oh yeah, fear of flying, here it is. And then they'll read the script right out of the book. Now, if that script happens to relate to what your problem is, because there's a lot of different reasons to fear being on an airplane, good, you get results. But if it doesn't, which is often the case, then you say, whoa, what a waste of time and money.
Right.
If you work with someone that really knows what they're doing, and they've worked with 200 people with a fear of flying, and they know what to ask you and what questions to look for and what else might be going on, and they devise your program according to your sensibilities and what's bothering you, the chances for your success, provided you really want to do the work, are obviously greater. So it's huge that you mentioned that. And it's really important for the consumers out there, if you're interested in doing this, just do a little research, do due diligence. Hypnotherapists are not hypnotherapists. And it's just,
you could strike gold with somebody who's done a weekend seminar, but
probably not.
Probably not. Educate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want change.
You mentioned that. It's a very, very personal working relationship. So you have to really feel that, one, the person knows what they're doing, that you can open up and be completely honest and vulnerable, and that they're not going to jeopardize that or take advantage of it or exploit it. And that you can feel that comfort, because it's such a personal relationship. If you don't feel that, then nothing is going to happen. Rapport is absolutely key in this work.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that, because as in any doctor-patient type of relationship, unless you're honest, the person treating you cannot help you. If you go to the doctor because your left elbow hurts, but you hide your elbow and don't tell them about your elbow, they will never be able to diagnose, treat, or cure that elbow pain. So you're right, it's rapport. Find someone who is credentialed, who you feel comfortable with. And as the consumer, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Absolutely. And, that gets back to the point you made a little earlier. It's not the P's. People call all the time and they say, this is what's bothering me. And they come in and it takes about 10 minutes to find out that that's not what it is at all. And then you push the button and we open up the floodgates and now we're off to the races. If you don't know how to do that, then it's going to be hard to get results. And if you can't go in as a consumer, as a client, and let yourself be really brutally honest with what's going on, then the person can't help you. Yeah. And so if you can do that, then you probably establish rapport. And if they're experienced and know what they're doing, then they probably can help you. And it's also, I think we should mention at this point that this work, hypnotherapy, is not a long-term therapy. For most people, it's a matter of weeks, not months and months and years and years. So you can go to, and this is not in any way meant to disparage conventional therapy. For some people, it's great. But a lot of people are in therapy for years and nothing ever happens. And then they do relatively a few sessions of hypnotherapy, and boing, everything's changed. It's because we work at a deeper level, which is another reason you want to make sure you get somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because most of my weight loss clients end up having sexual abuse issues, which then they'll say, I've seen a therapist for that for the last 23 years. And it's like, well, clearly there's some other things we can do. And you go in and then bam, they think, I've had this amazing shift. Why did I quote unquote waste the time in therapy? Again, there's wonderful reasons to explore that. Conventional therapy provides a level of cognitive understanding that I think is invaluable for certain people in certain circumstances. But to my way of thinking, hypnosis is the behavioral pivot point that can actually change behavior.
Right. Think of that computer. If you turn on your computer and you got buggy software, if you don't change the software, it's not going to get better.
No.
You can turn it on and look at it all you want. And it's worth mentioning again that the subconscious part of the mind governs most of our behaviors, our attitudes, our patterns. And it's like a computer that's 3 years old. It doesn't know how to make changes on its own. And unless you get down in there, it's really, really difficult to do it from a conscious perspective alone. Willpower, remember, comes from the 10% of the mind that's logical and conscious and wants the change. Willpower can override that computer, but for how long? When you change the program and put a new piece of software in, metaphorically speaking, now you've got something.
Love that. And yes, hypnosis or any of these other tools is that new piece of software. Well, John, where are you going from here with your practice, with your book, with your methodology? Tell the listeners kind of what they can expect next from you.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm working on a new book, which I'm really excited about. I'm taking my time with this one. The other one, there was a certain urgency to, but this one, because I got one out, I don't need to rush this one. So I write when I get a chance, and it's called A Better You in a Minute or Two. Really excited about that. But more importantly, with the synthesis process itself, I am in the process now. There's a production company that's interested in turning the book into a film, kind of like The Secret, except they say, and I don't mean to sound immodest, but people say, your book goes where The Secret stopped. So if that's the case, and I'd like to, and that happens. So we're working on that. And in regard to that, I'm working on a whole new seminar series that I hope to take nationwide, which is going to introduce this process to many, many more people. I'm doing a lot of shows like this one. Thank you again for the invite. I absolutely love doing these things. And by the way, I have a YouTube channel, Dr. John McGrail Hypnotherapy, and I have a series called A Better You in a Minute or Two, which is a series of short videos. They're only a few minutes, but each one contains a little tip or trick or technique to help you live more powerfully. And if you're interested in those, anybody out there, you can go to my website, sign up for my newsletter, and you'll get on the mailing list so you'll know when one comes out, and you get a link. Or you can just go to the YouTube channel or see me on Facebook, and all those videos are there, and they've been very well received. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. It never ends, as you know. You keep growing. The synthesis process itself is much more advanced than it was when the book first came out. New tools and techniques that I've sort of cobbled together, or, you steal a little bit from this person and a little bit from that person, and you put them together in a slightly different way. You've got a whole new thing, and it works great.
Right. And then you have to practice it and refine it even more. And that's exciting.
It really is. So I love, and by the way, if there are any organizations out there, I'm always open to doing keynotes and motivational speeches for usually corporate. But I love helping people change the way they think and the way they do business, not just the business of business, but the business of their life. And you can apply these techniques that you and I are talking about and that you and I practice. People can apply them at work, at home, at school, at play. It's about creating a better you, which is why my company is called A Better You.
I'm just thrilled that you're doing that and sharing it with the world.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. I have just thoroughly enjoyed all of this, and I will put your contact information up on my show page. And have a fantastic week. And as usual, listeners, tune in next time and don't forget to flaunt.
Tune in next time to Flaunt. Build your dreams, live your sparkle with radio host Laura Cheadle every Wednesday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Time on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. Come release self-judgment, reveal your naked self-worth, and re-choreograph a life filled with joy. Flaunt. Find your fetish, laugh out loud, accept unconditionally, navigate the negative, and trust in your truth. Find out more at lauracheadle.com. That's LoraCheadle.com.